Hello and welcome to this house. Today we are exploring Hollow Creek Manor, a chilling tale of grief, loss, and the lingering spirits that refuse to move on. So grab a flashlight and don't be afraid to scream. I won't tell anyone. Let's go. The old Victorian manor stood on a hill overlooking the sleepy town of Hollow Creek, its silhouette a jagged tear against the bruised twilight sky. Liam and Sarah, young, ambitious, and flush with a surprisingly modest inheritance, had bought it for a song. "Needs a little TLC," the realtor had chirped, conveniently omitting the local whispers about the manor's character. They were city folk, practical and dismissive of rural superstitions. The weeping willow in the sprawling front yard, its branches gnarled like arthritic fingers, was the only thing that gave Sarah a genuine, unsettling pause. Their first week was a whirlwind of unpacking, paint swatches, and dreams of transforming the dusty relic into their modern haven. Liam, a software engineer, relished the physical labor, while Sarah, a freelance graphic designer, envisioned her sun-drenched studio in the east-facing parlor. The house was enormous, a labyrinth of rooms, each holding the faint, musty scent of forgotten decades. The unsettling occurrences began subtly, a misplaced set of keys turning up in the refrigerator. Doors they were certain they'd closed found ajar. Cold spots that drifted through rooms like unseen currents. Liam, ever the pragmatist, blamed faulty latches, drafts, and their own exhaustion. Sarah tried to agree, but a knot of unease tightened in her stomach with each incident. The weeping willow was the focal point of her disquiet. Its branches scraped against the master bedroom window on windy nights, a sound like fingernails dragging across glass. Sometimes, in the dead stillness of pre-dawn, she thought she heard a soft, almost inaudible sobbing emanating from its direction. Liam, a heavy sleeper, heard nothing. One afternoon, while attempting to clear some of the willow's overgrown lower branches, Sarah felt a prickle on her arm. She found a long, thin scratch, beaded with blood. She hadn't felt the branch snag her. Shaken, she retreated indoors, the incident adding another layer to her growing apprehension. The whispers started a few nights later, faint, sibilant, just at the edge of hearing. Sarah would jolt awake, heart pounding, straining to decipher them, but they would fade, leaving only the oppressive silence of the old house. Liam, when she told him, suggested stress. "This renovation is a big project, honey. You're probably just overtired." Then came the shadows, fleeting movements in her peripheral vision, a darkness in a doorway that would vanish when she turned to look. She began to feel watched, a constant, oppressive scrutiny that made the hairs on her arms stand on end. She started leaving lights on, a habit Liam found wasteful but didn't argue against, seeing the genuine fear in her eyes. The activity centered more and more on the master bedroom, the room closest to the weeping willow. One morning, Sarah woke to find a single, muddy child's footprint on the polished wooden floor beside her bed. It was small, too small for an adult, and they had no children. Liam was already downstairs making coffee. When she showed him, his skepticism finally wavered. There was no logical explanation. They began researching the history of Hollow Creek Manor. The local library's archives were scant, but an old newspaper clipping, brittle and yellowed, spoke of a tragedy a century ago. A family named Blackwood had owned the manor. Their young daughter, Ilara, had disappeared one summer afternoon. She was last seen playing near the large willow tree in the front yard. Despite extensive searches, she was never found. The article mentioned that her mother, consumed by grief, claimed to hear Ilara crying near the tree, convinced her spirit was trapped there. Mrs. Blackwood eventually succumbed to madness. The story sent a chill down Sarah's spine. Ilara, the weeping willow, the sobbing. That night the whispers were clearer, a child's voice laced with sorrow. "Mommy, I'm cold, so cold." Sarah sat bolt upright, gasping. Liam was awake too, his face pale in the moonlight filtering through the window. "Did you hear that?" he whispered. Sarah could only nod, tears welling in her eyes. The following days were fraught with tension. They considered selling, but who would buy a house with such a reputation, especially if their own experiences became known? They were financially tied to the manor. They tried sleeping in a guest room further from the willow, but the sense of being watched, the faint whispers, followed them.